Combining light and dark. Here is a Shadow Magic Sorcerer multi-class with the Light Cleric in Baldur's Gate 3's Patch 8. So we're able to stack up Radiating Orbs, giving a -10 to the enemy's attack rolls, meaning they're much less likely to hit. And we also get all the fun benefits of being a Shadow Magic Sorcerer, like hiding out in darkness. Now with this, I would recommend actually starting with the Sorcerer here, as this is going to give us the Constitution saving throw proficiency to hold our concentrations a little bit more likely. So we'll be starting with that in Shadow Magic. This gives us the Strength of the Grave to stand back up, but we get our choice of cantrips here, and I would recommend taking Bursting Sinew there, the Bone Chill to stop targets from receiving healing, Ray of Frost, and Shocking Grasp. We can also grab Ray of Firebolt a little bit later on. And for the spells, I'd recommend at level 1, Magic Missile and Shielder 2 are best to have guaranteed hits, as well as be able to shield yourself from harm. And for our ability scores, this is very multi-attribute dependent, so we do have to use a dump stat, whether that be our dexterity or our constitution. However, this is the early game stat spread we'll be using, so 16 charisma, 16 constitution, and 14 dexterity. However, once you get to the late game, you can use the Gloves of Dexterity or the Constitution Amulet. I think the Constitution Amulet actually works a little bit better there, and then we can put the rest of our points into our Wisdom and then fill out the rest of our stats somewhat like that. So I showed the stats there earlier if you don't want to use the Constitution Amulet, but since this is a Charisma and Wisdom caster, we do have to make some sacrifices somewhere. So into level 2 here, we get ourselves our meta magics. Now there's a couple great options that we can go with. I'd recommend Distance Spell and Twin Spell. Twin Haste, a really nice thing to have, and we get ourselves another spell here. You can take Mage Armor early game to keep yourself alive, but as we get later, Thunderwave for that pushback is extremely valuable. Sometimes you can get easy knockouts from that. And at level 3, we get the ever-powerful Quicken spell, and we get our Eyes of the Dark. So this actually allows us to see in magical darkness, similar to the Devil's Sight from the Warlock, and we can hide out in darkness. You don't have to, but it's a really good defensive option in the early game, and great synergy if you have someone else that can see in darkness. We're also going to grab Hold Person here, although you could go with Scorching Ray or Misty Step. Hold Person just brings a lot of value to our team, so we want to take that. At level 4, we get ourselves another choice in cantrip, and I recommend Firebolt to explode things with. And for our next spell, Scorching Ray or Misty Step, depending if you need more offensiveness or defensiveness. And for our feat, there's a couple great choices. Early game, you can go with the Warcaster to get advantage in concentration. Saving throws to hold our concentration, which is really nice. Taking Alert for the +5 to initiative also works great. Or we can go and increase our charisma to increase our spell casting ability with our charisma spells, as that can be really nice too. At level 5, we get ourselves a choice between some of the most powerful spells. We can go with Twin Haste, however, we do have a few concentrations like Spirit Guardians, Darkness. Haste is it's a great concentration to twin to yourself and someone else, but I'd rather a full sorcerer use that. So we need some damage options. So I think Fireball or Lightning Bolt will be our best choices there. You can also replace spell if you find you're not using one of these spells and then take another level 3 spell. Since we don't get too many spells, it might be a good option. Level 6 gives us the Hound of Ill Omens. We can use this to replenish our sorcery points. It can break concentrations on the enemy using the Umbral Tangle and its Bite. So this will also splinter off into more dogs, which is kind of nice. It's got 42 health, but if you keep it alive, it'll do a lot of good for you. At next level, Fireball. Just enough said. This gives us another damage option. You can, however, take off one of these spells again if you wanted to take something else, but Fireball and Lightning Bolt are really most offensive options. Now, after this, I think it's best, obviously, to add in the Cleric here, and we're going to go with the Light Domain. This gives us Burning Hands and Fairy Fire, as well as Warding Flare. Shield yourself in Divine Light, use your reaction, and impose disadvantage on an attacker, possibly causing their attack to miss. This is super nice once we get to the next level as well. And for our spells that we'll be taking, Sacred Flame is really good. I also like to have Toll the Dead. We do have Bursting Sinew there, so we'll take Guidance. And for our prepared spells, we get a really nice one with Create or Destroy Water, which can power up our Lightning Bolts. And we also get Guiding Bolt, the Healing Word. Bless is nice too, but I also enjoy having Command. And our next level, we'll take Sanctuary. Command being really nice because if you have other if you see spellcasters, you can basically knock them prone with it, and it's really good. We get the Radiance of the Dawn with our Channel Divinity, does a 2d10 plus 7 radiant damage and dispels magical darkness. So it's we're kind of funny. We're light and we're dark, kind of mixing both of those there. And for our next spell, we'll take Sanctuary there, as I mentioned. Into level 3, we got Scorching Ray. So I guess for the you could obviously swap that around and take something a little different with the Sorcerer there. And with this, we'll also go with the options for our spell of, we can take Hold Person here as well. The difference is charisma casting versus our wisdom based casting, so this does cause some issues here. So we'll take spiritual weapon there, and hold person as 2 good bonus action abilities. And next level we get a choice of feat. So this is a little tricky because we could boost up our charisma here, or we can boost up our wisdom based casting. So we got some options. I think it's best to take some of the more powerful or more healing based spells. Aid is nice because we can use this to give ourselves an increased amount of health for the team, and silence is good for shutting down enemy spellcasters. Here we'll take our charisma boost. I think it's best to build around charisma and use most of our charisma spells, even though we do get fireball here as well. I think it's best to use charisma for our spell casting. And we get destroy undead here, and for our choice of spells I would recommend taking spirit guardians there and the mass healing word. And then you can take one of these off. We do have a lot of cleric spells that kind of hold up things. Animate Dead and Revivify are also quite good, and even Glyph of Warding. The nice thing about the clerics, you can prepare these spells at any given moment. And for level 6, we get improved warding flare, so we can give disadvantage on attack rolls for our allies as well, keeping everybody alive. And we'll take Glyph of Warding for our final spell here. So that's what we're rolling with for overall spell selection. For different spells, if you want to remove Fireball from the Sorcerer, even though it's a little bit better to have Charisma, you can take like Sleet Storm as well. It's another good option. As for gear, I like the Holy Lance Helm because with our Radiant Shockwave Luminous Armor here, anytime we deal Radiant damage, we do a Radiant Shockwave. Anytime we do Radiant damage, we stack 2 turns of Radiant Orb from the Luminous Gloves. And then we also can use the Coruscation Ring to do 2 more turns of Radiating Orbs. And the Callous Glow Ring will give us additional 2 points of damage if the target's illuminated, which is really nice. Then we're also going with the Evasive Shoes, Luminous Gloves, Cloak Protection. You can take off the Holy Lance Helm, although when they miss, it keeps the Radiating Orbs on the target. If we want better spellcasting, the Hood of the Weave is going to be a good choice, and even the Birthright to boost our charisma if you want to be the face of the party. Now I'm using a mod for the die, if you're curious, that is the Emanator from Faerun Colors on the Luminous Armor. It looks really cool like that. I also went with the Marka Heshker Staff because this will give us the ability to cast Chain Lightning, and then Hellrider Longbow for the +3 to our initiative. We can also, since we have 2 armor or 22 armor class, we can also swap out and add in like the Ring of Protection or anything else related to increasing our overall armor class. But you can see here, we got 2 main choices that we want to use with our concentrations. We got Spirit Guardians, which will stack the Radiating Orbs. If you have no problem with stacking Radiating Orbs, it might be best to use the Eyes of the Darkness and hide out from there. So I'll show you what this will look like in actual combat. So we want to get our Spirit Guardians up as soon as possible. You can also, if you have any free cast abilities, you can use that. Even the Marka Heshker is the Arcane Battery, so you can get a free cast of that up. Now we want to go around spreading Radiating Orbs. So you can see there, Spirit Guardians is nice for that because you can literally just keep running into enemies and setting this up. So that is kind of the first thing that we want to do because this will give us some nice Radiating Orbs built up. And then what we can do is we can get ourselves into like an actual good combat situation and go into casting. Now, once you're happy with the amount of Radiating Orbs you're able to set up, you can go with like a, you can set up your darkness then and then use that as your camping. Like you can camp out in the darkness at that point. But Spirit Guardians you see there does so much damage. And then we can start with the Radiance of the Dawn. If you're able to find a position where you're able to hit the maximum amount of people with that, you can go ahead with that and it's going to stack even further Radiating Orbs. So we get one of our coolest and most powerful abilities here really early on. And boom. Radiating Orbs on all of them, and we got a good amount of set up here. So just with the moving around, we were able to get quite a few, and then we can go with a nice fireball here that will hit 2 targets and stack even further Radiating Orbs on the enemies. So he's got 6 stacks and 10 stacks on that target. Broke his concentration, and if we want to go even crazier, we can use a quicken spell. Although I do want to keep some of our sorcery points there for a little later. We can also heal our team if we need to, and we got Spiritual Weapon to go around setting up days with the Maul, so the Maul is probably the best choice there, and it'll also grab a few extra hits for the team, so that can be nice too. And ever powerful, the Radiating Orb or Spirit Guardian combination is there, so you see that. And you can see here, we got our Warding Flare to keep our allies safe. That disadvantage sometimes, you see there, they had a 23 to hit, and Shadowheart was getting hit. We turn that into disadvantage, which makes it so that they don't end up getting hit. And we got our Shadow Dog here, which we can use to apply omens on the target. Not the most likely thing. Hey, we got an Omen of Acid off on them. That's pretty nice. Chromatic Orb being a good spell to take instead if you wanted to be able to apply those. And we got our Maul here to apply Daze, which will likely, or give us them disadvantage on Wisdom saving throws. So we're much more likely to be able to land our Hold Person and Command spells. And again, we want to try and hit as many people with our Spirit Guardians as possible. So 28 damage, upcast the Spirit Guardians is so nice. And then we can get into a position here where we're able to then hit with our Radiance of the Dawn again. So boom, big AoE, and it can do quite a bit of damage. Stacking Radiating Orbs -4 and -3 there. And we can just go ahead and hit targets there. We also got Distance Spell, which is nice. It only uses 1 sorcery point. So if you get in a position where you want to hit someone with a spell, you can literally use this, and yeah, it's going to be super useful for making sure that you're able to touch enemies with your spells, or get into a position where you're much more likely to succeed with that. We're not able to hit anyone, so I'm going to use Lightning Bolt, which is another spell that actually has a pretty good range on it, and -10 to Radiating Orbs there, and broke his concentration. That was a good choice. And on our turn again, it's just best to run around with our Spirit Guardians until we're able to disintegrate people just like that. It's incredible, especially if you got Call the Weak. The damage potential on this is crazy. We may take them out. No, we didn't. Oh, we mind broke ourselves. That's lovely. At least our dog can go, so it'll try to set up the Omen again. Watching out for any type of radiant damage. It's saved in the Ominous Bite, unfortunately. Our Maul is there too to deliver a bit of damage. That was pretty good. Broke the concentration. We lost our Spirit Guardians, which would have been the one shot, but the nice thing is we can actually go ahead with some other spells, as we can upcast them. We got lots of different spell slots. I'm not sure what's going on here. Rave. Oh, we got the 2 different versions. So if you wanted to use the Charisma or the Wisdom-based casting, well, with the Charisma one there, that's going to be our better choice. And boom, that took him out. Adding the extra radiant damage to each of those further stacks our Radiating Orbs due to the Callous Glow Ring and the Coruscation Ring. Very powerful, surprisingly. Now, we could have also set up with the Eyes of the Dark, since we lost our concentration on Spirit Guardians. Once you have the Radiating Orbs applied to keep your team safe, it's next all about using your darkness for survivability, because we can see in this, so we can go camp out in here and then go spell cast from our darkness. So you can blast from there, you got Fireball, you got Lightning Bolt, and you can upcast all of them. We got every spell that we want between Fireball, the Lightning Bolt, and our Spirit Guardians, and then using the Radiance of the Dawn. Now, a true light cleric might be a little better, obviously, due to getting all these special benefits, but you got options here. You can go into your dark form and hide out in shadows with Nimbus, or you can go around running with Spirit Guardians. So this is a pretty fun build in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know which build you'd like to see next. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.